Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Facebook Live Connect and Chat with Union County Public Schools. Tonight we're talking about a very important topic to all of us, safety and security. If you are on Facebook and need translation in another language, please go to your settings and you'll be able to have video translation in that language based on your settings on your phone. I'd like to introduce our superintendent, Dr. Andrew Houlihan, who will just set this tone for us tonight and give us an update on why we're doing this.
Thank you, Ms. Stallworth. Good evening, Team UCPS families, students, and staff. Thank you for choosing to spend your next hour with us as we discuss all things safety and security in preparation for the start of the 2022-23 school year. I think a lot of folks out there in the world think that when the first day of school ends, we just get the summers off and get to have fun and don't do anything. That is not true for educators, especially in UCPS. And from the last day of the school year last year, our educators, our support staff members, we have all been working tirelessly to make sure that we are prepared academically for the upcoming school year and most importantly, non-academically as well from a safety standpoint. I know as a parent, and in talking with many parents over the course of the summer, that safety is top of mind, especially off of what has happened in our nation at the end of last year. We're here tonight for several reasons. Number one, we want to educate you about the proactive steps we've taken in Union County Public Schools to address physical safety, mental safety, emotional safety, and overall well-being of students and staff. Number two, we want to reassure you that when you bring your children to school, you will have trusted adults that are there for one reason, to make sure they are safe at all times, and also to make sure they're receiving a high-quality education. And the third part of tonight is to hear from our experts that are highly devoted to all things safety and security in UCPS. We have tonight a handful of speakers that you're really going to enjoy hearing from. We have a mix of principals, we have a few district-level staff members, and we have our very own state SRO of the year, who is the SRO at Weddington High School, Deputy Chris Byram. So I will let the panel go from here and introduce themselves. But again, thank you for joining us tonight. And if you have any questions, please put it in the chat and make sure that we capture those and so that we can provide in a timely response and an answer. So Tahira, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Houlihan. So let's get to know a few of the folks who will be responding to our questions this evening. I'd like to introduce our panel. We have Dr. Kim Facent, who's a principal at Porter Ridge High School. Deputy Chris Byram, who's with the Union County Sheriff's Office and an SRO at Weddington High School. Our UCPS SRO of the year, and again, our North Carolina SRO of the year. We also have Mr. Jared McCraw, Assistant Superintendent of Student Support, Dr. Angela Foster, Principal at Marshville Elementary, and Mrs. Kasha Giddens, our Director of Student Support. So I want to start with just a question that any of you can answer. We know that safety and security is at top of mind for all parents, students, and staff right now. So let's talk through some of the proactive measures that schools take at the beginning of the year to address safety. Mr. McCraw, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Tyra. Good evening, UCPS families and team members. Some of the things we do at the beginning of the school year, we take an opportunity to review our safety and security procedures with all of our staff members. At our first principals meeting this year, we have already reviewed the procedures, lockdown, fire drill, tornado drill procedures with our principals. We will be doing that with our schools as well. We also will be talking to students at assemblies about safety and security. We'll have our SROs join us at those safety and security assemblies at the beginning of the year. I know that families will be contacted through their Blackboard Connect and through messaging, and we will be letting them know of all the good things we're doing related to safety.
Dr. Facent, can you take that just a step further and talk through what that sort of looks like at a high school?
Sure. We take planning very seriously, and a lot of that happens over the summer. We have to look at many different facets. So we talk to teachers before they leave the building in the spring to make sure that we know of any problems that may be there. We take the time over the summer to make sure that our facilities are up to snuff. We make sure that our procedures are where they need to be, and we also evaluate those. And if we find that there were some times the previous year where things didn't work the way we wanted them to, we go back and revise those. And then we work really hard to onboard new staff, which is something we were doing this week, on all things safety and security at Union County Public Schools. We make sure that they know where everything is in the building, how to contact the office, all of those things. And then at our high school, our student council works with incoming 9th graders along with staff to make sure that they know what the procedures are, and we do that during their freshman orientation. And those are all things that happen before we even start the school year.
Awesome. Dr. Foster, at the elementary level, what does that look like for our little kids to understand how important safety is?
A lot of our procedures are similar. We also begin by having an administrative meeting with our SRO so that we're on the same page. And our SRO will meet with our faculty and we'll go through the same procedures with them, and then we go over into student assemblies. But we do the same things to make sure I do my best also to make sure that we're keeping parents informed of anything that happens at the schools through Connect Ed messages, whether it's good or if we had any type of incidents, to also keep them involved and make sure that they have a say in what's happening at school.
Awesome. So I know that right now safety is top of mind, but throughout the year we want safety and security to remain a focus. So what do we need to do to keep safety as a focus and not become complacent? Deputy Byron?
Well, I think one of the most important things is that you hear the old saying that it takes a village to raise a child, and that village can also include the school that your child goes to, including your school resource officer. And I think it's very important that any time that, whether you have a question, a concern, whatever the case may be, that you reach out to your school and ask them. And if they don't know the answer, then go to your school resource officer. Encourage your child to not only get to know who your school resource officer is, but develop that relationship with that school resource officer. So when they do have a time of need, they can go to someone that they trust and someone that they can confide into. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. They can go in there and talk to the school resource officer about anything. The fact of the matter is you're developing a relationship that gives that child, unless that child knows that there is a place of security for them to go to. I think it's also important that you go and talk to your school counselors too. If you're having an issue that you don't feel like it's being addressed, reach out to someone, talk to someone about it, because we've already heard the word about 3 times tonight, being proactive. And I think a lot of times in society alone, we are reactive to a lot of things, but you need to be proactive when it comes to your child. And that's exactly how we take our approach to whenever the school year starts.
Awesome. We need a second just to improve the audio, and we'll do that right now. We hear and we see your comments, and we should be good to go with that now. We were talking about being proactive, and what I would like you all to explain to parents, what are some ways that students, staff, parents, community members can share what they see? We have a couple of tools that have worked for us in the last couple of years on sharing information. Ms. McCarty, want to talk about that?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Stauber. We have a couple of ways really more than 2 ways, but the Say Something system was rolled out about 3 years ago by the state of North Carolina. Union County Public Schools rolled that out to our parents and our students. You can submit a tip on the Say Something system either through the internet, through the app, or you can just report it. We also have the UCPS tip line, which all schools and all students have access to. And we also, our administrators, our school staff, our SROs, our student support team members, you can report something directly to them. As Deputy Byram said, we want you to be proactive as families, as parents, as students, as staff. Please report things through the Say Something system. That link is available on our website. The UCPS tip line is also available through our website. It is open for you to report things. We always proactively look into those things, work with our law enforcement partners, and make sure that we address any issue that may come up. But as parents, please be proactive in making sure that anything your student reports to you, please report it directly to us.
Thank you. There were lots of trainings that took place over the summer with our law enforcement agencies, with our schools. Ms. McCarr and Deputy Bond, can you talk a little bit about what the Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement agencies took part in this summer to prepare us for this?
Deputy Bond, you go ahead and start, sir.
Again, I will say that, especially for Union County Sheriff's Office, we pride ourselves in being very proactive in the training that we do, whether it's crisis intervention training, whether it's continuing educational training, in-service training, but we also do a very good job. We have a great training department where they come up with different scenarios for active threat type situations. One of the particular things that we really did hammer on this summer was the fact of the situation that we all know about that happened in Texas. We did some training within our schools at Forest Hills High School, and I know that our SROs, after that training was done, we utilized the chance and the opportunity to go to each one of our schools so we can see the different layouts that the schools may have. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I'm currently assigned to Weddington High School. Weddington High School may have the similar layout as Marvin Ridge High School, but Weddington High School is not going to have a similar layout like Sun Valley or Parkwood or Piedmont. He is the SRO over at Piedmont. Say, Officer Byron, I'd like for you to come over and familiarize yourself with the layout of my school in case you ever have to respond, God forbid, to an incident where we have an active threat situation. We do a very good job of encouraging our road officers to come over to our schools as well when they have some downtime, and we literally will take them for a tour of the school so they can also see the layout of the school. So I think Union County Sheriff's Office and Union County Public School System does a really good job of working with one another in partnership with one another. I know the other municipalities such as Waxhaw, Monroe, Stallings, they also do a great job. And I hope that gives some of y'all a little bit of a peace of mind of what kind of training that we do and what we're trying to prepare for and we're trying to prevent from happening.
So as Deputy Byram said, Union County Sheriff's Office had all their members of the Sheriff's Office go through training at the Forest Hills High School this year, active shooter training. Monroe PD also had all their officers go through active shooter training at Monroe High School. Stallings PD conducted active shooter training at Stallings Elementary School, and we also partnered with Waxhaw in different events. All of our agencies are valuable partners. We value those partnerships with state, local, and federal agencies, and we make sure that we listen to them, and anything that they suggest, or if they want to come into our schools, they're always welcome to come in our schools. Some of the state officers also, at the end of the school year, after the tragedy in Uvalde, they have started coming out and doing walkthroughs of our buildings. We have met with them and making sure that our SROs are the security leads in our school. These state agencies will be working with them as well. But what a valuable partnership and what a great partnership Union County Public Schools has with law enforcement agencies in our county and across the state.
Awesome, thank you for that. It's good for our community to understand what we're doing in advance and how we're all working together to keep our schools safe. As Dr. Houlihan said, all summer we've been training, we've been evaluating everything that needs to be done, so that's good to hear. We have a question from our Facebook audience that I'd like to bring to your attention. One of the questions is the SRO the same every day at elementary schools? And we have some new news to share about SROs at elementary schools, so Ms. McCraw.
Thank you, Ms. Stauber. So we're pleased to announce that this year that there will be 4 new SROs serving Union County Public Schools elementary schools. That will take the ratio down to 1 elementary SRO to every 2 Union County Public Schools elementary schools. We do have an SRO assigned to every middle school, and we have a SRO assigned to every high school. So is the SRO the same every day? Yes. Every day the SRO is the same at every high school every middle school, and every elementary school. That is important for the familiarity of that building and the people in that building, the staff. I think our principals would say that having an SRO and the relationship they have with that SRO is really important. But it is the same SRO every day.
I was just about to ask Dr. Foster and Dr. Facin to just elaborate on that, the importance of SROs, the relationships that they bring to our schools and to our students and staff.
Right, although our SROs are hired through the sheriff's office and not the county, we still see them as a part of our staff when they're in our building. And we make sure that our students understand that they are there to help protect them, be safe, they're friendly, and to not be afraid. For example, Marshall, our SRO last year retired, so we have a new SRO, and we had our K-1 Jumpstart today, and she was one of the first ones in the buildings ready to greet those kindergartners and first graders coming in, because she really wants to be able to build those relationships with the students and the staff as well as the administrative team.
Dr. Facin?
Yeah, the SRO at the high school is a crucial part of the culture of safety and respect that we have. Our SRO, Officer Humphrey over at Porter Ridge High School, knows our students, they trust him, and he also takes the time to make sure that they meet other officers as well. And so we will frequently have the SRO from the middle school stop by, so our students get used to seeing him. When we do our safety drills, other deputies from around Union County come in and our students get exposed to other people, and they get to know us as a staff as well, so that we can, bounce ideas off them, get suggestions. And so at the high school level, our kids also see some of the deputies at sporting events and get to see them there as well. So they're very important because our kids come to trust them. Very often, our SRO will be the first one to know of a problem, and then he will come and bring that to us if it's something that's a school-handled situation, or he'll bring us in if it's something that is really more law enforcement. So it's a great relationship, and I know that the staff at our school and all the other high schools feel safe at school, and our students feel safe at school knowing that our SRO is there, to watch over and make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to do to have a safe environment.
That's awesome. I think everybody can say that we really value those relationships and know how far they will take us in keeping everyone safe and just building camaraderie in our communities. We have another question. Are we considering using veterans or trained volunteers to protect our kids?
So I'll be happy to answer that. Right now, the law does not allow just anyone to carry a firearm on school grounds. It's a sworn law enforcement officer, and there's various other people, but concealed carry holders can't just carry a firearm on campus. Veterans can't do that unless they are sworn law enforcement officers. We're always looking for volunteers to come into our school. We have a volunteer system where they can apply. We want people to volunteer, but for security and for safety at our schools, our SROs are trained. They have many hours of training, and right now the law just does not allow for volunteers to come on campuses and do security with firearms.
Thank you. Let's move on to another question. New school year, things are happening around the country. We're talking about all the trainings, all of the preparations that we're making. What can parents expect to see different from a safety perspective this year? In terms of being more vigilant, talking about how they can report information, there may be procedures that may be different. What can we offer parents to know about that?
I'll be glad to start again. I know I've talked a lot, but listen, safety is going to be our priority this year. We've already talked to our UCPS team members about that, our leaders, our principals, and our directors. As you arrive at schools this year, you should see that doors are locked. Exterior classroom doors are locked, closed, secured. You'll see that we have video doorbell systems at all of our schools. So please be patient with us as we greet you and as we allow you entry into our school. But we're going to use those video doorbell systems. We also have the security vestibules as you come in the building that directs you to the office, keeps you from walking directly into the buildings. Also, you'll see that Again, our SROs, we have one at every middle, every high school, and then one SRO for every 2 elementary schools. All of our staff, we're going to constantly update them on procedures. We're going to make sure that we remind them of safety procedures. We do work with our local law enforcement as well on security assessments of our staff, our buildings. They come in multiple times a year and assess our buildings. But you will see that as you come into our buildings, there's going to be an increased focus on safety this year.
And I know we talked about this at the beginning, but the types of drills that students participate in at the beginning of the year with assemblies, if we could reiterate that.
Yes, so we have several types of drills. I think the most common types, we do lockdown drills. We do 2 per semester, so that'll be 4 per school year at a minimum. We try to do one of those during a non-traditional time while you're not just sitting in the classroom, maybe at the end of a lunch period. Parents, I would ask you, when your students come home and talk to you about those things, please don't go to Facebook. Call your administrators and talk to them if you have questions about what happened during a lockdown drill. We also do fire drills. We do those every month, and we also do one during the first week of school. That prepares our students in case we have an emergency that comes from a fire or something of that nature. We also practice tornado drills. That is common in this area across North Carolina and the United States, so we do practice tornado drills as well. But our schools have done a good job of conducting drills, making sure that staff understands what they need to do, and students as well.
Either principals want to just elaborate on what you are reinforcing and what may be different that your parents and students and staff can expect this year?
So every year at the beginning of the year, we meet with each grade level to go over safety procedures and policies at the school. This year, we are following that up with visits to each classroom. The SRO, myself, and one of our in-school suspension coordinator are going to go around and just answer questions from students during a particular block of the day. And so we feel that that will give some kids some opportunity to ask something that they might not want to ask in front of their whole grade level. At our school, and I know at many other high schools, there are times during the week where we meet, whether at our school it's advisory time, some schools call it homeroom, where our teachers go over procedures with our students and they can ask questions more specifically there. So we make sure that the teachers know what they're talking about so that when the students turn and ask them questions, that they know what the policies are and who to report things to and where to go when things happen. And so we work on that throughout the year, as well as addressing other issues that come up. If someone's being bothered at school, we tell them who they need to go speak to so we can be proactive and really get in early in situations to make sure that our students feel safe when they're at school. The safer they feel when they're at school, the more they respect each other, the safer the whole building will be. And so we really talk about that it's not just my responsibility to make sure the students are safe, but it's their responsibility too. And we really do talk to them about that repeatedly during the school year. So we're going to do that this year, and another thing we're doing at our school, actually something that we got from some elementary schools. We saw some elementary assistant principals have some carts that they have in the hallway, and so we picked out some carts, and our assistant principals are going to be more visible in the hallways, so that when students are moving around and transitioning during class time, that they're there to kind of stop, talk, build that relationship, but also ask questions on what's going on.
Dr. Foster?
Yes, we also follow basically those same procedures, but we also add on looking at what happens during the outside time. Because, our campus is wide open, so we, have the SRO along with teachers. They carry radios also, so when they're outside with students, they can easily access the office. I asked Dr. Deputy Russell, she did a walkthrough of the campus. She also did a drive around of our area to look at our evacuation areas, because right now we have to go to one of the care homes in the area. So I asked her, was that too far of a distance for us to go if we're evacuating the campus? So she did a drive-through of that. She's also going to look into other places in the area that's close, like the church that's next to us, to see if that's an evacuation area. And we also have trailers on our campus that we use. So we also talk to the staff and students about what that looks like during a lockdown. So if we have a lockdown, you don't try to come back in the building, you go into those trailers because they're just as safe and secure we also talk to our students about that. And I feel like we have an environment at Marshall where our students do feel comfortable coming to any adult in the building to address anything that's happening.
That's a great transition, because we did receive a question from our followers about mobile units and discussing the safety of students being in mobile units and what are those protocols like as well.
Yeah, mobile units are treated just like a regular classroom. They follow the same safety and security procedures that any student or any staff member would in the building. We lock our doors, we have communication in our mobile units. Also, severe weather events, that might be a specific time, and we have a tornado warning, we would bring those students and staff into the building, into the brick and mortar building. But I can assure our families that students that are, and staff that occupy mobile units, they follow the same safety and security procedures that all staff and students do throughout our buildings.
There's another question that's talking a little bit about active shooter drills, and are teachers the only ones being instructed? So can we talk through just a little bit about what our active shooter protocols are, the run, hide, fight? Got it. I went to my training yesterday.
Yes, you did.
Good.
We've trained all of our staff.
Yes.
So with our lockdown procedures now, after the Virginia Tech tragedy years ago, the focus went from sheltering in place. You can still do that. That is one of the options. Really, the options we use are run, hide, or fight. So you have the ability to survive an active shooter situation or an emergency situation. We train all of our teachers, all of our staff members, including our central services staff. We've trained everyone on active shooters. So run, hide, fight. That is the three options you have. The first option is always to shelter in place. Make sure that you're behind a locked door, that you barricade the door and you shelter in place. However, if someone were to come into the room, you can run away from the active threat, or you could fight if necessary to survive the event. So all of our teachers, all of our staff, all of our central services staff have been or are going to be trained before school starts back. Run, hide, fight, so you can survive an event.
Thank you. I want to switch the conversation a little bit. We've been talking a lot about physical safety. I want to switch it now to a little bit talking about mental health and our emotional safety. And that's where Ms. Giddens comes in to talk about our resources, our staff that we have to help our students and staff with just dealing with crisis. A lot of our children are in trauma, and we have lots of resources to support them. So, Ms. Giddens, let's talk a little bit about our partnership with Union County Government and Atrium, and what services we offer our families.
Sure. So I would have to say that we offer a multi-tiered system of support. It's quite robust. We have counselors that are employed at all of our schools, and then we also have mental health therapists and also school social workers who support our students. But the collaborative partnership comes in with the Department of Health, because of course we can't fund all of that support for 53 schools. They come in and they provide us with mental health therapists as well and school social workers. So, you know, the students, as they experience things in school, and we know over the years with COVID, there's been more trauma that's been appearing in our buildings. And so we want to be able to provide this multi-layer of support for the students so that they can get the help they need so they can be more productive while they're in school.
We get that question a lot. People often ask, do we have counselors in every school? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yes, we have social workers that students have access to in every school.
Yes.
And therapists.
Yes.
Yes.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
Okay.
All right. tell us more.
So recently over the summer, we also developed an action plan to have teletherapy. We're going to trial it with some of our high schools, and then full rollout will begin in November, because we know there is so much need. And so by providing teletherapy, now we know that there's different modes where students thrive better. Some people would prefer the teletherapy. It'll still be in our schools in a secure location, completely confidential, but they'll have that option as well. So we're not taking away services from those buildings. We're looking to augment them as well.
And with the teletherapy, parents have to give permission, correct?
Absolutely.
For the student to be involved.
That always has been part of our process and will continue to be part of our process. And Atrium is going another step further, once we go through our referral process with parents, they're also going to verify and get parental support on their end as well. So it'll be a double, pronged approach for that.
That's awesome. Dr. Hussein, can you talk about counselors, and at the high school level, what support counselors provide?
Sure. Well, counselors certainly provide academic support on what courses to take, but more of their time during the day is actually spent on speaking with students who are having problems, speaking with students who maybe don't know how to approach a friend or a teacher, and helping them problem solve. So I think that they are very important for making sure that our children develop and grow appropriately. I think that they are very important for having that resource and that relationship at school, so that the students have someone that is trusted, a trusted adult that they can talk to. And the counselors do a great job at the high school level, but I know every level, at communicating with parents when there's a real concern that they need to be aware of. And so, I think the children know that if they really need to talk to the counselor, they can, at high school level, they email the counselor a lot of times to say, hey, I need to come talk to you, or ask a teacher for a pass to go see the counselor. So there's lots of ways that they can do that. During transition, they can stop by and say to the counselor, hey, I need to talk to you, and the counselor, sure, to try to get them as quickly as possible. And they also are there to help the teacher. So if a teacher has a situation where they've noticed a change in a student in the classroom, because our teachers are often the first ones to spot that, the teachers can go to the counselor and say, this is what I'm seeing, what do you think I should do? And the counselor can help them walk through the protocol from there.
Thank you. And Ms. Giddens, this is a whole child approach. We hear from principals about what counselors are doing, your staff, but they're all working together, and they're all working together to improve the life and the situation for the student, correct?
Yes. So each school is listed in trying to develop a student support team, so they can have conversations around the students who may be of concern or may need more support, so we can have all those parties that are part and parcel to those conversations, make sure there's proper overlap.
If students need help and they a little bit shy about talking to someone because it may be an embarrassing situation to them, or they just don't know what to do, who should they reach out to if they wanted to access the teletherapy services, or if they just needed to speak to a mental health therapist?
They should speak to their school counselor. That's going to be their first
That's
person
what
to
they
check
should
with.
start, school counselor. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Any other resources you would like to talk through that the district is providing right now?
No, I just know that parents have the ability to access, all the student support people we talked about. They should be introducing themselves to the families at the start of the year. That's a part of our intention, so they can get to know them as well. We had parent education series last year. We're going to do that again this year, and we're trying to change up some of the topics so we can continue to build that relationship with our families and make sure they're well educated.
The parent education series was pretty awesome last year. We had some amazing topics and presenters that just held just roundtable conversations just to provide resources. So thank you for doing that. We look forward to that again this year. There is a question about bullying and what is the district's policy for handling bullying, and what parents and students should do if they encounter a situation.
Okay. I guess I was like, who's going to take it?
You got it.
So I'm also going to use my former principal hat as well.
Sure.
So I think that the students should report that information to the person they have the greatest relationship, so they can disclose as much information as possible. So, of course, the first thing that I would say is director of student support would be counselor. But oftentimes we know that those students have relationships with multiple people in the building. So a trusted adult that they know is going to carry that information back to the administration so that they can act on it. So that's where we want them to begin. We don't want them to hold it. We want them to get it out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I would just say that we have a Board of Education policy that deals with bullying. There's no tolerance for bullying on UCPS campuses, in any of our buildings. We know things happen sometimes to students and even staff. Please report that to us. Don't assume that we know. Parents, students, you can report it as we were just talking about, to a counselor, to a trusted adult. please make sure we know, and we will take action. I know things happen, but we have zero tolerance for bullying based on any student or any staff member, anything that comes up. Please report it. You have the UCPS tip line, you have the Say Something system, and you also can report it directly to an adult on campus.
Thank you. Anybody else want to add anything on that?
I do. At the elementary level, probably at all levels, we also have to submit an anti-bullying plan to the student support team that outlines the steps that we'll take. We outline, the expectations, the consequences, but I always talk to the little ones and I let them know, because they always say, I don't want to snitch or I don't want to tattle, but I'm like, if it's about your safety, it's not snitching, it's not tattling, tell someone. And so we always, make sure that our young ones know that it doesn't matter, you let somebody know. And I always tell them too, if you're afraid to let somebody know at school, let your parents know. You should always be able to go home and tell your parents what's going on at school, whether it's good or bad. So we really try to encourage students to talk as much as they can to help keep them safe, because you can't learn if you're not safe, if you don't feel safe.
Yeah, if parents do find out that their child feels unsafe at school or somebody's bothering them, if the student doesn't feel comfortable to reach out, then we hope that the parents do. And I know that in our school community, we do have parents call us sometimes with concerns. Our students do feel comfortable using the Say Something app, and we've had a good deal of success with that. And then we do follow it up using what our plan is for anti-bullying. We make sure that there's follow-up after the particular incident, and that we make sure things get on a better path after that.
Thank you.
Tyra, I want to say one other thing. We really have seen an uptick in the internet or cyberbullying over the last few years with people being on social media more, which we're on social media tonight. But I would encourage parents, please monitor what's going on with your children, especially on their social media accounts. I know a lot of students want to keep it private, but please, parents, I encourage you to monitor what's going on. If there's something that's connected to school, please report it to us. I know our SROs are always available to talk to them as well, but please monitor what goes on your social media accounts.
Yeah, I'll even take it a step further. In particular, I could even just say for myself, but I know that all the other SROs or school resource officers that are assigned to the school, like Humphrey and many others, we have an open door policy. So even if your student doesn't feel comfortable with coming to us about bullying, where they may feel like they're snitching, if you as the parent know about it, I'm a parent of 2 young boys in the Union County Public School System, I always express to them, like, listen, if you don't feel comfortable, but you're telling me, I'm gonna go and say something to either the principal, assistant principal, the school resource officer. I have an open door policy at my school, not just for the students and the faculty, but also for the parents as well and the people in the community that I serve. So if it's something that's happening, especially at Weddington High School, I would ask you and encourage you to come talk to me. If my car's out in front of that patrol school, that means I'm in that building. You come and ask Ms. Price, she'll get you set up with me, and I'll sit down and discuss what we need to do and what actions we need to take.
Thank you. That's a good transition to our next question. Parents are a key piece and very critical partner to our school system. And so what can we tell parents that they can do to help their students feel safe at school? What can they talk to their students about at home to help them with understanding safety protocols, listening skills, just who to talk to? What can parents do to help us here?
I think the biggest thing is to really push their child to talk to them. I know that lots of different ages, sometimes they don't want to talk to their parents, and I think a consistent effort, even setting up a structure at home, whether it's eating while you're eating dinner or before bedtime, that there's at least a 5 to 10 minute conversation about what happened at school today. You have to tell me 2 things that happened. And I think parents are really good at picking up on behavior changes in their child, if their child seems sad or worried. And I think that's worth a phone call to the child's counselor at school or to the principal or assistant principal at the school to just say, can you check, put your eyes on him in class or her and see if there's a problem. And we're happy to do things like that because the safety is the most important part. If they're not safe at school, they can't learn. And so, so we appreciate any information that parents can give us, and we want to be able to give that information back to them.
Yeah, I was just gonna go back to the point of making sure that our parents are well educated. There's a wealth of information out there. Just try to understand what your young people are potentially dealing with on a daily basis. It's not so much just what they're learning academically, but what's happening socially in the world. And so they have to be well prepared and knowledgeable so that they can have these open dialogues, because if there's, their children feel like they can't talk to them about it, then they'll shut down and they won't share these very important things. So just becoming educated, take advantage of the resources that we have. We'll continue to try to feed them, because I know sometimes you kind of figure out what's a trusted resource or not. But being educated is one of the most important things you can do for your child, and just encouraging that relationship and that dialogue, like Dr. Sim said.
And that's something I think we want to reiterate, is there are so many adults that are in our system, in UCPS to help our students. School staff, outside of school staff, SROs, there's so many resources. So just having students speak up, say something, find a trusted adult or counselor is really, really helpful.
And can I just add, there's really no secrets. It's a two-way street. We want to help as much as they want to help their babies. Of course, they're more invested because they're the parents, but there's no secrets in what we're doing. So if you have questions about what it is, call us, talk to us through it, because maybe you've gotten one angle of what's going on, and we can fill in the gaps.
Awesome. And I really want to touch again on the social media piece, because throughout the year we get threats, we have students who make comments, but we take all of those comments seriously, and we have to investigate everything that we hear and say, that students may report. Jared, talk a little bit about that process and what we do when there is a threat.
So we do throughout the year, and it seems like over the last couple of years we've had an uptick in threatening either social media posts. It could be a verbal threat, or it could be written somewhere in a school building. The first thing we do, we always contact our law enforcement partners, which is usually our SRO at the school, making sure that we get them involved early. After getting them involved, we work with them on an investigation. We make sure, as Ms. Staubert said, we take all threats seriously. We make sure that we investigate fully. If we find somebody did make a threat, whether it's written, verbal, through social media, we take that seriously, and we're gonna discipline if it's a student to what our Board of Education policy says we can. Also, law enforcement, they take that seriously. They're gonna charge somebody with that as well. There's zero tolerance for people making threats toward our school. One new thing this year that we're training all of our staff members on is a threat assessment intervention protocol. Over the years, throughout the nation, throughout our state, threat assessment intervention protocols have been developed. We're going to be using that this year in partnership with law enforcement to assess each threat that may come in to see which level it may be at. But I do want the public to know we take them all seriously. If we find out who did it, whether it's a student or a community member, we're going to ask that law enforcement charge them, and the DA's office, they prosecute them. And then if it's a student, we're going to discipline that student. There is zero tolerance for threats made against our schools.
I know oftentimes parents are not aware of things that happen or items that their students may have in their school bags. And in all of our messages, we talk about please check your child's belongings. And we just want to encourage parents to just be sure at the beginning of the year you have a conversation with your students about what's appropriate to bring to school and what's not, because that will certainly help with some of the conversations and understanding what items are appropriate or not. Deputy Doctor.
I'd like to add that paper. I'm speaking from my experiences of being at Weddington High School. There's a game that I think that they could probably play in all the high school levels, where my school is called Jackal. Other schools it's called Juggernaut. And when I started being a school resource officer 8 years ago, this game included that you would get somebody's name and then you would use a water gun to try to tag them with that water gun. And if you did, they were out, and they were out of the game. I'll give you an example. Last year had something similar going on. A student had brought a Orbeez water gun that looked like a real gun that was in the back seat of his car during my time of doing the parking lot checks, and I saw this. My heart immediately sank. I immediately got on the phone, got on the radio with my supervisors first, and got them to get me some other officers over there. Also immediately called Jared McCraw here. I got the principal on the school radio, immediately started doing the safety protocols and started going down through the checklist. And I also had a nice little chit chat with that student, and thank God it was just a water gun, but that's something that does not need to be brought on the school grounds. That is something that can be extremely dangerous, not only for the student, but just for the school in particular, because now that officer goes from a high alert to even a higher alert status, and you've got other officers that are coming there. So on the high school level, talk to your kids about that. Don't allow them to bring this water gun. What you may seem as a simple little fun game, we understand that, but at the same token, we have to look at it from a safety aspect. Is this a real gun? Is this not a real gun? Talk to your kids about not having pocket knives on them. I don't know how many times that a child would come to school not knowing that they had it in their pocket from the day before. But again, as the parent, it's hard for me to even say it like this, but as a parent, it's your responsibility to engage with your child and make sure that you know what your child is doing, whether it's on social media or whether it's something they have in their backpack. I know a lot of times we want to give our kids a little bit of freedom and a little bit of the ability to basically grow up, so to speak, but at the same token, we as the parents, I think a lot of us would agree that we as a parent and as a society, we've got to do better than what we have been doing. And I don't know about the elementary level as what you guys see as often, but I just know what I see at the high school level.
Thank you, thank you. I think we've had great conversation around resources, around protocols, around trainings. And so as we enter the school year, I think it's important to realize we all have to work together, and we all are working together to keep our schools and our students and staff safe. And we have a number of options for students to report information and share, and staff that can assist at a moment's notice. So if anybody want to offer any final remarks as we come to the close of our Facebook Live, our superintendent is here. He's going to close us out. And if anybody else want to give any final remarks?
The only thing I would say, Tyra, in closing is exactly what you said. It takes all of us, Union County Public Schools, parents, families, students working together to make our schools safe. If you ever become aware of anything, please report it to us. We want to make sure that our schools are the safest place that your students find each day. But please work with us and report things to us.
So I want to say a big thank you again to our panelists. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our parents, our students, and our staff members for engaging with us tonight. We hope this has been beneficial as you think about all things safety and security as it pertains to the upcoming school year. There are three kind of big takeaways, at least that I had, from this great panel. Number one, parents and students as partners in our effort to ensure that safety and security remains a number one priority. If you see something, say something. There are many ways that you can access and report challenges that you're having individually, or security questions or safety issues that you're having. You can do that virtually through our Say Something platform, face-to-face with a trusted adult in that school, and know that there are those adults in every single building that are looking out for our children every single day, and they want that type of dialogue with them. And number three, there's a wealth of resources in our buildings to address mental safety, emotional safety, and physical safety. We must use them and capitalize on them every single day. Student safety is an absolute priority. I did see a few comments and questions about our elementary SRO program, and I do want to make sure you're well informed. So we have been advocating pre-COVID for an expansion of our SRO program to expand to all elementary schools. When the pandemic hit, that plan kind of dissolved. We were forced with readjusting and reimagining what education looks like. We have picked that plan back up. And this past spring, many of us on this panel, including the UCPS Board of Education, went to our county commissioners to advocate for funding to be allocated to the Union County Sheriff's Office. That was done to add 4 more additional SROs, which, as you heard Mr. McCraw say, will now get us to a 1 to 2, 1 SRO to 2 elementary school, 2 elementary schools, as opposed to 1 to 3. We will continue advocating for this and making sure that we get to a point in time where there is 1 dedicated SRO for every single elementary school. That is a multi-year effort, working with the county to make sure that the sheriff's office has that budget support that they need. And so I hope that clarifies a little bit. Our SRO program is not run out of the UCPS budget. It is funding allocated from the county of Union County directly to the sheriff's office. So again, I just wanted to clarify a lot of those questions we had. And again, we're looking forward to a phenomenal school year. I'm excited as superintendent and as a parent. I'll have 2 in high school. And we want to thank you for watching again tonight, for engaging with us. This will be available and archived after this meeting if you want to go back and review it. But thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your engagement. We hope you have a wonderful upcoming school year and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.